Today, I have three guests on the show: Kate Swenson from Finding Cooper's Voice, Adrian Wood, and Carrie Cariello, all talking about their brand new book, Autism Out Loud, which is available right now. It's also the 1st of April, so happy Autism Acceptance and Awareness Day and month. Um, it's a great interview with three of them talking about a range of things like diagnosis, grief, caregiving, what the future is going to look like for all three of their children who have autism, all different ages, different profiles, different family dynamics. It's a great interview. Hope you love it as much as I do. Let's get to it. Okay, I am so excited to have all three of you here. I have Kate Swenson, Adrian Wood, and Carrie Cariello. We are here to celebrate and talk about their brand new book, just came out, called Autism Out Loud: Life with a Child on the Spectrum from Diagnosis to Young Adulthood. I know Kate's been on the Turn Autism Around podcast 3 times already. Carrie's been on once, and Adrian and I met last year, but she hasn't been on the show yet. So welcome, everyone. So happy to have you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, so very briefly, can you, because not everybody's been listening for years, can you very briefly tell us about your falls into the autism world? Kate, why don't you go first?
I'm Kate. My son Cooper, he's 14 years old. He was diagnosed with severe nonverbal autism at age 3. And while it doesn't sound like that long ago, there wasn't much back then in terms of books and blogs and support groups. At least I couldn't find any. And I've really committed my life to trying to help other parents. So I have a blog called Finding Cooper's Voice. I share on Facebook as well. I've written a book called Forever Boy and now Autism Out Loud with these two wonderful ladies. And we just share literally life out loud. That's pretty much that just sums up our world, our autism world.
Cool. Adrian, you want to go next? Tell us about your fall.
Might let Carrie go because I have a dog trying to kill people at the front door.
Okay. That sounds good. Not. Go ahead, Carrie.
Hello, I'm Carrie Cariello. I have 5 kids. And Mary, I think my son Jack is probably the closest to your son's age. So we both have young adults with autism. Jack is 20. He'll be 21 in May. And he currently is in a residential college program a few hours from here. So in the book, I focus a lot on autism and how it presents in young adults, as well as kind of the impact on marriage is a big part that I write about. So very excited to be here. Thank you.
Yes. Great to have you on again. Okay, Adrian.
Yes. Adrian Wood. I have a blog called Tales of an Educated Debutante and 4 children. My littlest has autism, Amos. He's 11 and home from school today. So that's exciting. And I was kind of like Kate, I got the diagnosis at maybe 3 and I thought, well, I'm going to go to Barnes and Noble and get my book and I'll be ready. And there was no book. And really, unlike maybe my fellow authors, I didn't write to help other people. I wrote to save myself. I just was so scared and drowning in what this life was going to be like that I thought I just had to write about it. And it sort of grew into this other thing of realizing that I had found a community and just brought me joy. So anyway, glad to be here.
Yeah. And I know about all three of your kids. I met Cooper in person, and I have been following you all for a long time. So I know that you have, very different ages, very different levels of autism. Adrian, your son has other medical or is it a genetic issue?
He does. Yes, he also has a genetic disorder. That's right.
And I was reading in the book, I started reading the book, which is excellent, Autism Out Loud. And you saw signs of things like sacral dimpling and things that looked a little abnormal at birth, and then, started with early intervention when he was under 1, where the other 2 were more, the typical, thought there may be developmental delays at 2 or
Mhm.
3, and started pursuing the autism diagnosis. So you all have way different stories, way different ability levels and ages, and you all 3 have 4 or 5 kids, so there's like a lot going on. But how did you guys like come together and decide to write a book? This is kind of amazing.
Mhm.
Well, we had been talking, I think I knew Kate first, and then during the pandemic, she had this idea to go live with Adrian and another a blogger in our universe. And I had never once gone live before. I was like a nervous wreck the whole day. Like, what do I wear? When you go live, you see from like your chin up. Doesn't matter what you wear. Get the kids quiet, it's like this whole thing. And I would say from that first live, we were kind of off and running in terms of just a lot of communication back and forth. And then I shared this recently that my mom passed away a couple of years ago, and we had a complicated relationship, but the one thing she always valued about me was that I was a writer. And the day after she passed, I had a call scheduled with Kate's agent to talk about another book of mine. And I decided to make the call. I don't know. I was sort of in this like void after a passing of my mom. And the agent said, "Well, I don't see your book showing up anywhere in shelves," which, as everybody knows, is like publisher speak for like this is
Uh-huh.
spider vomit and you should just move along. But she said, "You should write with Kate and Adrian. Why don't the 3 of you write a book? You have
Oh, so
like
it
you
was the
said,
agent's
Mary, we
idea.
each have such 3 different points of view. We don't even live in the same parts of the country. Like
Mhm.
regionally, we're different. Our autism profiles are very, very different, and we approach it very, very differently. So I think I'm really confident there's something in this book for everyone."
Mhm.
Yeah. When
Mhm.
you brought up your complicated relationship with your mother, like I perused the book last night in preparation, and actually this line from the very last line of the book is your acknowledgments. And if you don't mind, I just want to read it.
Yeah.
It just says, mostly for my mother, who always told me to never put anything in writing I didn't want the whole world to read. May
Mhm.
you finally know peace at last. And like, I got chills when I read
Me
that.
too.
I get chills now. I got chills when I just ran to the book to say, oh, she's talking about her mother. And like, that was so profound.
Thank
You
you.
really write beautifully, Carrie.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
touched on that in the grief chapter. Adrian also, experienced loss in a different way. And I think it's just an example that autism is one part of our landscape, but it weaves its way into many other
Mhm.
aspects of our lives.
Yeah, I always say that when you have autism in your life, your name doesn't get out of the lottery bag for more stuff.
Very
Or when you
true.
have more stuff, your name's not out of the lottery for autism. So,
Mhm.
I think the 3 of you, Adrian, I know your story of you've talked online and in the book, I did read that your brother passed away when you were a teenager and that you experienced grief. And I did see that chapter I did see that in the book as well. So yeah.
Yeah, it was, for me, I just thought, well, I thought what you just said, I thought that my name now was taken out of the hat. Like I thought, okay, I've gotten my one bad thing.
Yeah.
I lost my only sibling, really my most favorite person on the planet, my older brother, and now I'm good. And so I learned within a few years that wasn't true. But I also think I thought I knew grief pretty well, and my way of handling grief was to just ignore it and stuff it aside. And so when Amos showed up, I was feeling this familiar feeling, but one, I was out of space to shove anything aside, and two, here I was feeling the same way, but this child wasn't in a hospital. This child didn't have 6 brain tumors. This child was going to live. So how am I going to navigate this grief? So really, in the beginning, for me, I had to grieve my older brother, and And that took a couple years in the process. And that was surprising to me, that was not something I planned at all. And so I think as we're talking about autism and all these kind of paper clips that connect, maybe somebody doesn't have autism, but everybody has a life that's not the life they planned for themselves, and how do you navigate that with joy and not just concede defeat, I guess.
Yeah, and you do have a chapter on grief, and like I know I think Kate and I have even discussed this. Like there is like nobody's allowed to talk about grief, like because of and actually today, April 1st starts Autism Acceptance, Autism Awareness Month, whatever we're gonna call it. And like, what can we call it? And is it this and is it this? And there is a movement to say there's nothing wrong, it's a gift. There's no, being vilified for having grief or talking about grief. So Kate, do you want to just say a few things about that?
Yes, if I had, when Cooper was diagnosed, I got a pamphlet of papers slid across the table in, I think, a blue folder. And I'm telling you, it was nothing of importance. But if there had been a pamphlet in there on grief, my journey would have been entirely different than it was. If one person would have said to me, it's okay to be sad. It's okay to feel angry and slighted and jealous and all these feelings. I would say the first 8 years of my journey was shoving those feelings aside, much like Adrian. I refer to mine as this invisible backpack that I carried. And whenever anything happened where I felt jealous or sad or angry, I would stuff it in the backpack and keep going until I faltered. I couldn't carry it anymore. And I hit bottom. I was on my bathroom floor crying. I had this boy who wasn't progressing. He was regressing. We couldn't leave our home and it was affecting jobs and siblings and marriage and no one, I would hear things like, at least it's not cancer. At least he's not dead. Get over it. It's not that bad. This is a gift. It's a superpower. And I'm like, you people are crazy. And then I think what was so hard about all that, I can giggle about it now, was then I thought, what's wrong with me? Why isn't this wonderful and magical and joyful? So I have to talk about it now, and I've received a lot of upsetting things over the years, but it's my hill. It's my hill that I'm going to die on. I'm going to say you can grieve the loss of experiences and still love the boy and treasure the boy. And we have a beautiful life. If you follow me now, we have a really beautiful life. We're happy, and we have this hard thing, and we keep going.
Mm-hmm. And for those of you that don't know Kate was kind of like discovered with this video of her crying in the car.
Yes, my only time.
And you're what?
My only time I've ever cried on camera.
And it was really powerful. And we can link it in the show notes as well as Kate's other episodes here and Carrie's episode here. We can link all that in the show notes. But basically Kate was crying in the car because she realized she was at like a Sesame Street thing, and she realized that like Cooper was severely impacted, that it wasn't going to go away, and this was and she was grieving. And you got attacked. I mean, you got a lot of attention, mostly good.
Mostly
But
good.
when you get a lot of attention,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna get 5% bad, crazy, whatever. And so I know Kate's experienced it a lot because your following is so huge. You have over 1 million on Facebook alone, and other platforms. So that's been tough. But so the chapters that I kind of skimmed through: the diagnosis, anxiety, grief, sibling chapter, uh, caregiving versus motherhood, education. I mean, there's just so much in here, and it's a really nice format. I don't know, I can't like put my finger on a book that is similar, because it's like Kate goes first with her perspective on a diagnosis, then Adrian, then Carrie, and every chapter kind of flows, and you realize that you can have vastly different experiences with any of these topics, but then there's common themes. So what was your favorite chapter? And why don't you tell us why and a little bit about the chapter?
I can go first.
Okay.
I actually have up on my wall here, I have a list of the chapters on this whiteboard, and we knew the core chapters. We really did. We stuck firm with those, but then the end of the book started to change form. And as we neared the end of the writing process, I remember these discussions with the three of us. We're like, we don't talk about the future. And my reason was, I don't want to get into group homes. I don't want to predict the future. I don't want to limit Cooper, but also I didn't want to go there. I don't want to think about it. Autism growing up, I'm not ready. And so when I think we wrote what does autism look like? So that's the second to last chapter. And then we're like, this isn't the end. We need what does forever look like? And so that's my favorite chapter. And I cried as I wrote it. It's really raw. It's so much so that our editor was like, "This is sort of dark." And my joke was to fire back at her and be like, "It's all real. I'm so scared. I'm so scared, and I'm just trying to just navigate that fear right now before I even start planning." But we talk about the future, but it's not all sad. I mean, there's so many beautiful things that we have to look forward to. So my favorite is, what does forever look like?
Nice.
I really loved the autism family piece. And we have two chapters that sort of hover around family. One that addresses just siblings. And I just want to say that if you're a brother or a sister out there and you're growing up alongside autism, or you have a young adult, this book is for you. It will validate the experiences you had as a child. And I really think, help people understand that they're not alone in this when you're one of a few kiddos and your brother or your sister has autism. I love the autism family because a large part of my story revolves around marriage. I've been married for 26 years, and we have been, through our fair share of ups and downs. And I kind of take the reader, I also like it from the metaphor that I landed upon. I take the reader through our marriage in terms of couches, and all the different couches my husband and I have like sat on, all from college all the way from like what's in my living room, a few feet away from me, but really to show anybody on this journey with us that there are ebbs and flows to a marital relationship, particularly one that's under the pressure of a diagnosis.
Yeah. And I did a sibling episode with my typically developing son, Spencer, years ago. Actually, when COVID hit, he came home from his undergrad and was going back for med school. And he was home. And so he was back here in my office, and he didn't want to hear any of the questions ahead of time. He wanted to be off the cuff. It's a really great episode. We can link that in the show notes for anybody interested. But, I only have my Lucas, and then 18 months younger is Spencer. And Spencer now is a physician, which is, incredible and amazing. And really, I know you guys all have typically developing kids too. And it is a great thing to be able to experience typical development and all the milestones. But it's also, this double-edged sort of, then you feel more like grief of like, oh, wow, and surpassing. I think you talk about some kind of leapfrogging over your sibling and stuff in the book. I don't know that I've heard that exact term, but yeah, I feel like, there's a lot of layers. And you guys, from what I read, have done an excellent job. So, Adrian, what was your favorite chapter?
I don't know, if I think it would depend on the day. I think my sort of base answer would be the chapter on anxiety. And that's because we were at an appointment with our pediatric psychiatrist at Duke Autism, and I was talking, all these things about Amos. And he said, what you're talking about is anxiety, not autism. And that was really powerful for me. I think Amos was maybe between 4 and 6 at that point. And I had no idea about that relationship. And I think all three of us really have ADHD, anxiety, and autism. And so I wanted another family to know that before I did, so that they could be proactive, whatever that may look like for them. I think currently my favorite chapter is building community. Um, because we've just run in lately into some things where we're struggling in the community. And I really think about, boy, I want people in the community to read this book so that they know what our family might look like out in the community, and that we look different, but we're okay. You know, the little boy that's kind of lying down in the grocery store aisle, he's got a place in this world too. And as a parent, when you were saying we all have other children, you know, I found myself often saying, like, I've done this before. I'm the only one where autism came last in our family. Kate's first, Carrie is second, and so I had three typical children. And I never really thought about the fact that their development just progressed. But now I feel like when I'm being kind of criticized with Amos, I say, you know, I did this before. Before Amos, like, I really patted myself on the back for being this amazing parent. And now I have to accept, like, it maybe had a lot less to do with me, because if I'm given the credit for their amazingness, then I have to be blamed for Amos's struggles, you know? And so I think that's an important thing for the community to see, that success can look very different in parenting and children.
Yeah. Yeah, all really good points. I didn't get to read the chapter on caregiving versus motherhood, and I know my parents are older and needing more caregiving all of a sudden, and Lucas is 28. He needs 24/7 supervision. And you know, so can you guys tell us about the motherhood versus caregiving? Because it's a interesting chapter title.
Yeah, I can go start.
Yeah.
Caregiving is my passion. It developed I would say a few years ago when my friend Amanda and I started our nonprofit, the More Than Project. We felt like we had made it through the hardest part, the hardest humps, and that we wanted to help others. And so the question is, can a mom be a caregiver? And I'll tell you, or a parent. When Cooper was 2 and 3, I would have answered this differently. I was just a mom doing mom stuff. Now that he's 14, and Mary and Carrie, I mean, Cooper's nearly as tall as me now. And so we are still, I mean, and this is so hard for people to think, you know, we're still dressing him. We're bending down to put his socks and shoes on. We're getting in there and brushing his teeth. We're checking his body every day, making meds, making food. He can't be alone, not even for a second. And so our life suddenly looks very different, including our retirement, including everything that's coming up. We will be caregivers until the day we die. Even if Cooper lives in some sort of, you know, other setting, we'll still be checking in. We have to manage meds. We have to manage his care. We have to make sure he's safe. And no one was having this conversation. And if you dare say caregiver in certain circles, you're just met with shame. But we have to support these caregivers. It's not a dirty word. We have to support them so they can live long, healthy lives and provide for these growing children in healthy ways. And so caregiving is really where I'm turning my attention in my advocacy. I think I put this in the book. There's something like 53 million caregivers, whether you're caring for a parent or a child. And sometimes people are caring for both. So we have to just start the discussion. I was very passionate about that chapter. Like, I was like, this is the one.
Right, right. And I agree. And over the years, we have really taught Lucas, you know, how to shower himself, how to, you know, even shave and do all the things and get dressed, and really a lot of the focus in the early years was on language and on, you know, that sort of thing. But I've done other episodes where, you know, professionals, I think it was like Peter Gerhardt and his co-author of a book, they were like, we really need to start very, very young, and it needs to be a big part of whatever education or ABA programming even in my book, my newest book, Turn Autism Around, I mean, there's chapters on, potty training and sleeping and going to the doctor's dentist haircuts without a fuss and, all positive, proactive. And I know, Kate endorsed my book and, has my book and stuff. But, if you're out there and if you're struggling to get more independence and to get some of these caregiving responsibilities a little bit lower, but like you said, Kate, we're going to be in this forever, especially if you have a child. Like Lucas was diagnosed before there were levels, but he has moderate to severe autism, level 3 nowadays. But even if they're somewhere else, they're, and I'm happy to support him as long as I'm on this earth. It's just it does become a full-time job, to manage, his care, even if other people are helping.
Yeah, this
Go
was
ahead, Karen.
our first chapter, oddly, even though it's chapter 8 in the book, but it's the first one we wrote together.
Yeah.
For me, caregiving, how I define it versus motherhood is I'm watching my other children. So I have 3 who don't live here anymore, who are in college, including Jack's in a college program. I'm seeing the others outgrow their need for me in ways that he isn't. For us, I call it autism management. It's chasing down medication every month. It's even though he's very, very proficient in administering it to himself and calling in prescriptions and all of that, but I will always sort of be interfacing financially or, kind of still helping him navigate the world that, I have a 20, soon to be 22-year-old, and he needs me for like none of that.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Jack has, fully conversational, can go on transportation by himself. I mean, he's what we would consider, very quote unquote high functioning, which is another term that we're not supposed to use. But it's like, uh, you know, but even still, he still has a lot of needs that you are filling, and it's a dance, and nobody taught us the steps.
And we touch on that at some point in the book. And I remember talking to Kate and Adrian and saying, listen, I want to address high functioning, but I want to do it in a way that's really respectful and leaves room for your profiles. Because yes, Jack is certainly considered high functioning, and I'm grateful for every aspect of that. It does come with some other vulnerabilities that are not explored. Online dating. Jack connected with somebody he thought was a peer, and it turned out to be 2 men about a year and a half ago who convinced him to get into their car. He takes public transportation, but he takes the bus home, the Greyhound bus. And last time he took the bus home, he texted our group chat. Jack loves to text. And he said, there is a Karen sitting next to me, and she should have put her things above, but she didn't. So right away, we're like, oh my God. My oldest does not respond to group chat texts very quickly. I don't know if that's how Spencer is for you. You might get a text once or twice a week. But immediately, my oldest son, Joseph, wrote, it is all okay, Jack. You can switch seats. Don't talk to her. Don't bring it up to her. So we're always handling that interface. Jack is over 6'5", and we can still not, I don't know why, cannot manage to teach him how to hold the door for someone instead of barreling into Ben and Jerry's first because you have your eye on that ice cream. I'm always thinking he's going to meet someone on their worst day, and the outcome could be really, really challenging.
Yeah.
You know what I just learned? I just spoke at the Autism Society of San Diego, and the woman that's running it is phenomenal. She has 2 adult sons with profound autism, and she said that because of that exact reason, Carrie, in their IEPs, she had them teach manners. And it was because she's like, I can't have him walking down a hallway and bumping into people and not saying, so excuse me was one of his goals, holding the door. But I had never thought of that. And I'm like, Cooper will walk down the center of a hallway and part the seas. And like people are like, like so annoyed. But isn't that a great idea?
That
to work
isn't,
on
and I
that?
would love that because mechanically I position Jack at the door. And I mean, we've done this. And I go, I'm going to walk through it. Hold it for me. But without fail, he goes through it. Our new mantra here is never be first. Never be first to order at a table in a restaurant. Never be first to push the button in the elevator. Never be first to walk through the door. That's how I lay it out for him. And then not only do you have to say the never, but you have to take him where you want him to go. Be second, be third. And like I'm always, even though he doesn't physically live with me, I am always running through scenarios like that in my head.
Have you ever tried video modeling with Jack?
I haven't, but that's a great idea.
Yeah, in my book, I have a one page on video modeling, and I have taught a lot of manners to a lot of, because I not only have Lucas, I've worked with thousands of kids as a behavior analyst, and we did teach, excuse me, holding the door, thank you, you're welcome, and all that stuff. I also taught it too early to Lucas before I knew what I was doing, and we got the God bless you, thank you, you're welcome all strung together. So you can really make a mess of things. I've made a mess of Lucas many times until I figured it out. But I would try video modeling with some of your older kids, have them go and hold the door and then talk to Jack and then practice
That's a good
doing
idea.
that. And I think it would really work. They actually I've seen some lectures too. I forget who did them, but on teaching high social skills to higher language kids and adults using video modeling and acting out and role playing. And yeah.
I think my portion of the book, and I'm really passionate about that, is for anybody who's thinking about launching a child and what life after high school could look like. I talked to
Mm.
a mom who I was actually presenting for some time ago, and we talked before I went on, and she said, right after I talked to you, I went down to my son who was sitting in the basement, and she said, a boy named Jack goes to college, and I think you can too. And she got in touch with me like 6 months later, and this still sort of makes me feel emotional. She said he found a community college in our area, and he goes every day. So
Mhm.
for certain profiles, there's a phenomenon I call untethering, where it is possible to untether yourself from this complicated child and let him or her begin to take steps towards independence.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. And there's a lot of colleges that have autism support uh, developers and program coordinators. And I did interview at least one person on what to do if you think your child might do college, and we can put them in the show notes as well. So, Adrian, did you have any follow up for? I think we're still on motherhood, right?
Yes. Yes, I did. And Carrie and Kate are probably like getting ready to giggle, but I recently my father-in-law moved in with us and he'll be 89 in April. And so we have this, Amos who's 11 and Grandpa who's 89. And my husband said about 2 weeks ago, somebody said, "How is it having your dad live with us?" And he was like, "Well, it's like having two Amoses." And, you're getting people's coats zipped and you're repeating things and you're making a plan. And as difficult as it's been, I've been prepping for this moment, right? Like, I can't imagine if I didn't have Amos and all of a sudden I became a caregiver today, where it's really the transition has been easier, I think, because we're already doing this. But again, it's just this life, you don't make these plans for this kind of thing. And using humor, I think I particularly like humor and like to laugh and know how important it is.
Mommy,
Yes.
there is no
that
picture
Amos?
on sign pad.
Oh,
That's
yes,
Amos.
that's Amos. Amos is home from school today. I think it's in my bathroom,
Where's the bathroom?
upstairs beside my bedroom. We're
Yeah.
not sure where the bathroom is. It's been the same place for 11 years.
You do have a very good sense of humor, and in your lives and in your writing. So I appreciate that. So you gotta laugh, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so people can get the book Autism Out Loud on Amazon. It's on Audible too, right?
And we recorded it, all three of our voices.
All three of your voices. So I'm definitely going to get the Audible because I love to listen to books, and I would love to hear the three of you. I think it's a really unique idea. And you can also get it at, I'm assuming, Barnes and Noble and anywhere you buy books around the world. And then you also all have um, Facebook pages and paid groups if you resonate, if your child is more of a teen or adult, similar to Jack, you could, consider joining Carrie's page versus, Kate's group, which Finding Cooper's Voice, Coop's Troops is the paid version. I've been in it since the very beginning. Love that group. It's really great networking. I met many people that ended up being guests on my podcast and, members of my courses and everything. But I love Coop's Troops. And then Adrian, you have a group as well, right?
Yes, I do. I do on YouTube and Facebook.
Yeah. So we'll put all that in the show notes. I really do encourage you to get the book in any form and really to just discuss the things that are in this book: grief, anxiety, marriage, motherhood, caregiving, all the things. What the future of autism is going to look like for our kids. And I can honestly say that in the last probably, I mean, Lucas is 28, going to be 29. I am not up at night worrying about me dying. I feel like, and I haven't been for a long time. I feel like even though he needs care, there are a lot of good people in the world. There's agencies, and I'm fortunate because he does have a brother. Not that he's gonna live with Spencer, but I know that Spencer and my sister and my nephews and, people will step up to at least coordinate things or step in if there's a problem. And I mean, what are we gonna do if we're deceased? We can't really do much, but we're all just trying to prepare you know, for launching our kids, whether they're typically developing or not, or have autism or have severe autism versus not severe autism. We are just, I mean, the three of you with this book are just moving forward and trying not just to help your own families, but to help the world with talking about these difficult topics. So before I let you go, part of my podcast goals are not to just help the parents and the professionals listening, or not to just help the kids, but also help the adults listening. So be less stressed and lead happier lives. So you guys all have a ton going. So if you could go around and just tell us a self-care tip or stress management tool you use on a daily basis to try to ground yourself and make you less stressed. Let's end with Kate. Kate gave me one of the best answers to this many years ago, which I'll tell you later, but let's end with Kate, but she can think about her answer. Carrie, you want to go first?
Yeah, I mean, something I do, I just move every day. That's really important to my routine. I became a runner about 5 years ago, and it's something I do without even thinking. Granted, I have only, two kiddos living here, so I have a little bit more time, but it was something I always incorporated, even when I had a house full. I run every day, I write every day, and I read every day. It's like my three R's.
Nice. All right, Adrian.
I have nothing. Nothing.
You're funny. You use humor.
I have all these things that I need to do, but there's nothing. Like the most regular thing I've been doing is getting in the hot tub.
Well, that's good.
Okay.
That's
Um,
relaxing.
Mary, I have to ask you. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Adrian.
No, that's it.
Oh, I'm done. Mary, when I gave you my good tip, did I have 4 kids or 3?
I can't remember.
I
But
mean,
I'll tell you the tip because I'm sure you won't remember it. But you said that you had this app on Cooper's iPad that you could set the volume. So
yes.
it wouldn't blare. Lucas always has headphones. Like he wears headphones all the time. But he would get like super like almost agitated if he he'd turn the music up where you could hear it out the headphones. And then he'd get like super like stimmy or agitated or whatever. So we started using that immediately. I'm like, that is one of the best tips. So
Volume
you got to come
regulator.
up with a new tip now.
Well, this isn't my self-care tip, but that made me think of something. Cooper's new thing now is he will delete all the apps off our phones
Oh,
and our iPads. And so you have to go add them back to your home screen. You can lock that. And I didn't know this. It's been life-changing. So you can lock it so the apps can't be deleted. Do that. And there's a parent right now that's like, oh my gosh, best tip ever.
yeah.
But I think honestly, with 4 kids, really pushed us over the edge, and also a golden retriever dog, really, really sent us spiraling. So I would say I let things go, and it's seriously the best piece. And you know who told my friend Alicia from I've been friends with her since kindergarten. She said to me one time, she's like, when I travel for work, I know my husband is not going to get the kids' teeth brushed at night and they're not going to have the baths the way I want them, but they survive and they're fine and they're loved and they're cared for. And that really resonated with me. I just let a lot of things go now. I can't, we are not the picture of perfection. So if you come to me looking for that, you're not going to get it. But I was getting so stressed with doing everything and I can't. I have to let it go.
Yeah. Let things roll off you. Gotta
Yeah.
have a good motto. Well, it's been so much fun talking to the 3 of you. I wish you all the best with your brand new book, and I am looking forward to a lot of collaboration with all 3 of you down the line. So thank you so much.
Thank you.